Rebecca Wright is a professor of computer science and director of the Computational Science Center at Barnard College. Her research focus is in the area of information security, and it's fitting today that we hear from her about increasing women's participation in computing as a prominent woman in computer science.
Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about increasing women's participation in computing. I am now doing that at Barnard College, but had been doing it here at Dynamics most recently. And I'm sure this is not news to many of you, but undergraduate computer science enrollments have risen substantially in the last decade nationally. But even so, the percentage of women remains stubbornly low. And this is not just bad for women, it's bad for the computer science field and bad for innovation, as diverse teams have been shown to produce better results. And in particular, at the undergraduate level, living learning communities have been shown to help increase engagement and promote success. And so that is something we did here at Rutgers. And this is probably my favorite photo from my time as director at Dynamics. This was during the time that Rutgers was celebrating its 250th anniversary. And this was one of a couple partnerships that we developed during my time as director with the Douglas Residential College here at Rutgers. So Douglas is a bit like Radcliffe to Harvard, was a women's college degree granting institution, no longer grants its own degrees, but still very much focuses on women, women's leadership, and scholarship about women. And so what is a living learning community? It is a program where students, in this case women interested in computer science, come and live together for both curricular and co-curricular activities, community development. Ours, in this case, was a partnership of Dynamics, Douglas, Rutgers Computer Science, and then additional support from also the Rutgers School of Arts and Sciences, as well as the National Science Foundation, gave us some funding to really do some rigorous research studying the effectiveness of this program as we developed it. So I'm happy to report that it started back in 2016. It's in its fourth year and has an ongoing commitment. It's got a pretty unwieldy name, the Douglas Dynamics SAS Computer Science Living Learning Community. If you would like to be a major donor of the program and endow its continued existence, it can have a simpler name. So please talk to someone. I guess you could start with me. You could talk to Peter if you want to do that. And it relies heavily on the experience, infrastructure, and staff at DRC. At Rutgers, they have a number of living learning communities for women, and they've been very successful. And they've, in fact, been part of the research to understand the effectiveness there. But as far as we know, this is the first such program in computer science. It's for Dynamics, certainly, I wouldn't have had any idea of how to do this part, which is that students apply to the program once they're accepted at Rutgers, but before they arrive. But Douglas knows how to reach out and find those students, those high school students who've applied, they've been admitted to Rutgers, and that they are women and have an interest in computer science, and so we use that as a way to get the students in. And the program itself is a multi-layered mentoring model. So there's a staff director that's part of Douglas Residential College, a graduate student that acts as mentor for them, an undergraduate peer academic leader who actually lives with them, and then a faculty advisor, which initially was me. The students live in a common dorm, so they have half of a floor in a dorm on the Bush campus, very close to the computer science department. Their curricular part of their experience is a first-year seminar course on great ideas and applications in computer science. This is stuff, honestly, we think should be part of every introductory computer science student's education, and perhaps the success of having done it this way will help us, or will help Rutgers get that in there. But at the very least, it gave these students a way to engage in an academic setting with each other, as well as to talk about some of the amazing things you can do with a computer science degree. And then really, I think, super effective and strong part of the program is the community building piece, both for them to really bond as a community, and then the connection to multiple levels of mentorship and support. So How do we do it? As I said, building community, also some academic enrichment and support, this rich structure of mentors, and then connecting them to opportunities. And now that we have the experience of 4 cohorts, really a lot of it's even richer than it was initially, because the students who've gone through the program and were in the living learning part in their first year have stayed connected. They act as mentors themselves to the students, but also reach out to that group for support when they need it. And our hypothesis was that among these students, we would increase engagement and confidence to promote ultimately success and retention in the major and in the field. So as I said, we did some measurements, and through a couple of different quantitative and qualitative ways, we've been keeping track of the program. Declaring a major and graduating takes a long time, and even though 4 years and 4 cohorts seems like a long time, we still don't even have any graduated students, because that's really not that long for that. But we have some data, and there's sort of some good and some bad in here. So the first cohort now, we have 41% of them have declared as CS majors, another 12% with a CS minor. A significant number have gone into information technology informatics, and we spent some time thinking about, is that a success, is that not a success, and definitely, so we do ultimately say that is a success, a broad view of computing and what a computing major is. We did initially focus the program specifically thinking computer science, just because some of the research has shown that these communities are the most effective when there's a common curriculum. But that kind of question is one of the things that the ongoing evaluation and experience with the program is something we think about and revise. And also, one thing you can see from cohort 1 to cohort 2, if you can read those, so the light blue, the dark and the light blue are CS major, CS progress, because the way they declare the major happens later then we can only start to see it here. ITI still large, and ITI progress. So much more, if you count all of those, 95% of cohort 2 are on the pathway for a computing-related major, versus this larger 29% other in the first cohort. It turned out that was something we just learned. We had sort of not communicated what the program was for well the first year, and a lot of students found us through the housing pathway and saw, would you like to live on Bush campus? And checked yes, as far as we can understand it. So those were students who were interested in engineering or other sciences as well. So we revised for cohort 2 to really try to get to the students. So this was viewed as really a retention program more than a recruitment program from the perspective of computer science. Although actually for Rutgers, it's helped as a recruitment program, in that we know that at least some students chose Rutgers because of the existence of the program, including some of the students who were in it. And so we think that that's sort of the biggest difference, why the numbers look worse for us in cohort 1 than 2. I also want to say, though, in a way we look better than we maybe should get credit for, in terms of this 71% of the cohort student had declared a computing major or minor versus only 50% in comparison group 2. I think that is partly because one of the things being in the cohort does is the mentorship says, please declare your major. You know, we encourage you to declare your major. Having that extra identity is valuable, but also it helps you get into some classes with waiting lists and things. So I do expect that the comparison group will have better, and I should say the comparison group were students we recruited also entering the same time, women with an interest in majoring in computer science. So the more quantitative piece that we did with the help of CRA, Computing Research Association Center for Evaluating the Research Pipeline, is to survey that comparison group and the cohort group. And there too, we found quite a bit of success around the community and engagement reported by the participants. So the LLC participants reported that participation in the LLC helped them to continue in the CS major, and certainly the strong support from all the faculty, staff, and mentors associated with the program, which also contributed to participants' sense of belonging around questions there. It did reveal some results of concern. Though, in particular, both the participants in the LLC and the comparison group showed a decrease so they got surveyed at the beginning of their first year and then again at the end of the first year, so that time that they were living for the LLC participants in that community. And they came in with a certain amount of confidence in their computing abilities. Sorry, there's a word confidence missing. It's not that their abilities decreased, their confidence in their abilities decreased. Hopefully their abilities did increase, even if their confidence went down. And they showed a decrease in the extent to which they felt welcome and supported within the broader computing department. And so that's something that not only are we looking to adjust, and I still say we, like Fred said, it's a bit hard to get away of something you care so much about. But we made adjustments to the program over time, and the people still here are on board and continuing to monitor the program's effectiveness, as well as working very closely with the CS department to more broadly address these issues and understand what's going on. And then there's also, so looking into, is it just that if you talk to students shortly before final exams, their confidence is not at its highest? So we actually want to expand who we're surveying and look at some of the male students as well. This is my favorite slide here because it's got pictures of the students and it's got some of the quotes that they've said about the impact. I feel more confident in my computer science skills and ability to learn. I was intimidated at first. The LLC has definitely provided resources that helped with my confidence, like mentors and professors, said one. Another said it was really interesting to see how what we were learning in the classrooms applied outside of school. It has encouraged me to want to learn and continue learning computer science. Another, I can't imagine how my first year would be without the LLC in such a big campus. Making close friends is hard. With the LLC's impact, I'm more confident about my academic goal. One, the community has helped me especially make it through to study CS. I think it was the fact that I was able to work with a group of women going through the same struggles as me, understanding what I was feeling. And then this red one, I really like, a year full of amazing support and new friendships that will last a lifetime. So, and what's interesting, we do see some about the course and the mentorship, but I think it's the connection with the other students that is really, and that's anecdotal, but just my sense is that is really a key part of what these students come away with. So, so that's a couple of the cohorts mixed together at an end-of-year party a couple years ago. And I guess perhaps inevitably I was so excited of all the things that I've done at Dynamics, and I love the research and the scientific excellence and all of that. This program really spoke to me, and so I went off to a women's college for the next phase of my career, and have been building a computer science program at Barnard. So Barnard is a very old college, a women's college that still exists as its own entity, has its own degree, admissions, president, provost, endowment, et cetera, et cetera. It is affiliated with Columbia University, and perhaps because of that, it had no computer science program of its own until 2019, so the students were able to major in computer science by connecting with Columbia. This is our new building. If you say space is an important thing at a university, one of the things to me that spoke to the commitment that I could see that Barnard was giving to computer science and computational science is we have the whole 5th floor of this newest building on a very small campus. So that was very exciting. And some of this may be too small to read, but so Barnard created its own computer science program. We will eventually become a small department in January with me. I hired a faculty fellow. She's a 2 to 3 year position, but if you count her, that means I doubled my faculty already. I plan to double again next year by hiring one more tenure track and one more fellow. I think we don't get exponential growth after that, but we'll see. And for the major, we will continue to partner very closely with Columbia. So we're really focused on, although there will be some curricular changes as well, really taking the idea of Barnard itself is a living learning community, and so some of the things that we're going to be doing there, are the kinds of things that we did with the living learning community here. So build community around computer science, increase academic support, bring advising for the CS majors to Barnard. Barnard has a very hands-on style of advising. We are grateful to the Columbia computer science faculty that have been advising our Barnard students, but as there came to be more of them, the level of attention that they were able to get from those faculty was much lower than they were seeing their Barnard peers and other departments get. Continued hiring of faculty, and then developing curriculum and new programs, and a focus there is really going to be sort of computing in a liberal arts education, so the connection of computing across the disciplines, which is something I also very much value from my time at Dynamics. So the students didn't wait for me to show up. They've been majoring in computer science already, initially smaller numbers, very much on the upswing. They're still fairly small numbers. It's a small school. But again, sort of there is some clear exponential growth here, and I don't know how long we're going to be able to double at this rate before we hit some natural limiting factors. Maybe we'll become the Barnard School of Computer Science. Maybe we'll have every single undergrad woman in the whole country at Barnard soon. I doubt it, but the numbers speak for themselves. So, as I said, we're looking to sort of better serve those CS majors as Barnard students, but really a lot of what we're going to be doing is connecting computer science to other disciplines, to other departments at Barnard and at Columbia, and to really think about what does it mean? How do you meaningfully engage students in all disciplines as part of a rigorous liberal arts education? And of course, in doing so, the hope is that a certain number of them, more than already have been, will go on to careers in computing. But that realization that, in fact, you can't even divide careers anymore clearly into careers in computing versus careers not in computing. Almost every career either is a career in computing in some way or is a career that would benefit from better understanding and knowledge of what computing does and can do. And so, and then also, so what, I'm in the lucky position of being able to say if you have a world-class computing department across the street that your students can take classes in and do the major in, what else would you like to do with that sort of blue sky available to you to work on? And so, I'm really interested in focusing in the areas beyond a traditional CS major, including the connection of technology, both to its impact on society, both positive and negative, looking to bolster the positive and limit the negative, and how you can also, through thinking about things with a computational lens, you can use it to solve problems and to improve lives. So perhaps in that realm, the courses we've developed so far are not so much the computing for everyone across the disciplines at an introductory level. It's really a combination of, I've got 2 faculty, what do we know how and like to teach, but also where are there places to have a different kind of class and a different kind of connection. So I've been teaching a privacy class where it's just super multidisciplinary, no computer science background required. They can choose a project that has computation, but they don't have to. And we talk it almost turns into a class on democracy because with the Cambridge Analytica and the election and the disinformation, all connected to the same kinds of things about privacy of data and misuse of data and how it can be used, and then things around user interfaces design, contextual design, and developing accessible user interfaces, which I think accessible technologies is sort of where security was in computer science maybe 20 years ago, where not every department even had a class, and even the ones that did, it was very separated. Now we're just starting. This is really one of the few classes on designing accessible technology, but I think if you go another 20 years, every class is going to have some kind of talk about how you think about that when you design. Through the center, the Evangelist Computational Science Center, we can also do things like workshops to have a low commitment way for students to get involved. And for us, a workshop is not a 3-day, seriously organized thing with tons and tons of speakers. It's 2 hours on a Friday, no credit. The students come. Some of them require no background. Some of them build on others. And so it's a very easy way to get people in to see a little bit what they can do with computing. And then we're also relying on existing communities that exist at computer science across Barnard and Columbia, like Women in Computer Science, so we hosted for them a diversity hackathon. They did all the work, they got speakers, they lined up the students to come, but we gave them a space and some food, and that turns out to be a way you can really help support students as well. So we do that. And again, because pictures are what I like, here are some pictures of some of our students, some of our events, and